And what you want to try and do is you want to try to fit the size of the UV to the size of the whatever texture you've got going on here. So what I suspect that is happening is that there are some stacked up UVs on here. That there are some things kind of going on that are sort of we've got the same thing going on as we had on the inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Face. I'm going to select those faces in there like that, and I'm going to do a cylindrical map. And again, let's just see what exactly is going on. We have the cylindrical map here, and I'm going to try to select it because it's kind of nestled in there, and I want to find that. There we go. I'm going to close it up like that, and now I'm going to select a UV, select shell, and now I have a better representation of that UV section there. There we go. There we go. And let's just move it down into the grid here. Let's get a little closer to the inside of the pot so we can see what is going on. Again, sometimes it gets very small, and the checkerboard is going back and forth there, so I need to scale it down to about that size and scale it down a little more, and then kind of do something like that, maybe a little more like that. And there we go. It's sort of matching here. It's probably what would probably be best to do is to move it to the side here. Let's move it down and try to match it to the inside or the outside of the sections there. And I'm just going to go back and forth a little bit like that. It up just like that, and we're getting pretty close. So there you go. That's how we sort of that's how I kind of fixed that edge there, and I'm gonna scroll out, and I would do the same thing with this edge here. So I would select a UV and go select shell, and I have the whole shell selected. And let's just look and see what it looks like in here. And that's actually, that UV pretty good just by default. I think we need to scale it up again and do the same sort of thing that we did over here. Move it up over there, and let's just scale and move, scale and move, and that's about ballpark good enough for now. Now you also have some other little sections here that you need to determine what they are. Let's just take a look at what that is. What section of that is, well, let's just go in UVs and select a UV and select a shell and see what exactly where that is. I believe that that's the top section here. I'm not quite sure where that, oh, there it is. That's a little top little section edge there. Let's try something. I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to connect that edge to the edge of the inside there, which is this UV section there. So I'm going to go to Edge. Let's just see what happens. and select an edge like that. And sometimes you can see where the edge corresponds on the other UV. And let's go to the polygon menu set, which is polygons in the UV texture editor. But I've torn it off, and that didn't work very well at all. It just sort of placed it there, but not very well. I'm going to undo that. I'm going to try something a little different here. I'm going to go to edges. I'm going to try to select these edges separately. See if I can do that. Let's see if we can drag select it. No. Ah, we did do that. I just drag selected and deselected that. And let's move and sew UV edges, and that still didn't work very well. It's because it's not oriented. There's too many edges trying to correspond to that section there. I also don't think that this has been this has been unwrapped correctly. So I'm going to UVs and select shell, and let's select faces, and we have all the faces selected. And let's do a cylindrical map unwrap. There we go. That's a little better. We just did a UV cylindrical map unwrap to that. I think that's probably the way it's supposed to be oriented. And let's select the UV. Select shell. Oh, I did the wrong thing. Select shell, and let's put that down like that. So again, this I've determined from just sort of looking at that and trying some different techniques that that was not unwrapped correctly. It looked like it was, but it really wasn't. And I'm going to pull this down a little bit like that, and again I'm going to try to connect that to that edge there. Okay, so let's try this again. I'm going to go to edges. I'm going to select those edges, shift select, shift deselect, and let's just see if that will move and sew UV edges, and it did. Check it out. So now what it did is it connected those UV edges to those connecting edges there. I need to select the UVs here. I need to do a little adjustment here. Let's select the shell. Let's bring it down like that. And we need to do some adjustments. So I need to go in here, get a little closer. And it tapered it, so it's not going to have a it's going to have a little bit of a taper there, which may be something that you want. So I'm going to select those, and I'm going to taper those out like that. And let's just see what happens here. Let's just but as you can see, it has sort of a skewing effect. It's not really exactly what we want. So that's not really the effect that we're wanting here. So I need to get that down like that, and I'm going to square this off like that. Again, it would probably be best if you were to get in and snap some of those to the grid. I'm going to just kind of get it, I'm going to get it as close as I can for this demo here. But it's fairly accurate. You're not going to see that amount of stretching for this sort of thing. And there you have it. So now the thing to do would be to start to move some of these sections into the top grid section here. And let's just go and let's just do a global scale this down. And let's move these. And into the 401 section like that. And let's move that in there. We haven't done that section yet. That's also something that probably needs to be done, needs to be addressed. I won't do that right now. You get the idea of how you could probably go about doing a more accurate UV here. The outside one here, let's just see if we can pull that down, and I need to do some adjustment on this one here, just so it's accurately showing. I need to do some scaling. Let's just look at that section there. It's this one here. And just look at that. Pretty close. Could use a little bit of scaling and moving, but there we go. And I've now I have UV textured that pot. Let's just, for the heck of it, let's select that. Let's select the faces like that. That'll be that section there. I'm going to do a cylindrical map on that. And let's close those up and select a UV, select a shell. Let's move it out of the way so we can see what we're doing, and move that down about like that. And it'd probably be good to separate that out from that little top section there. In fact, let us just see what we got and what we got going on here, so I can move that out a little bit. There's actually, I suspect that there is some stacking going on. So the thing to do would be to grab just those top sections there, separate that out by doing a planar map. Well, let's just do that right now. Let's just see if we can select those faces like so, and let's go create UVs, do a planar map, and there we go. Let's just see what that, look at that, look at that. That's what I wanted. And I've gone and I've separated that out. Just grab those UVs there, select a shell, and let's scale that down to about the size of the top and the bottom. And then the challenge becomes where to put it in the 4:1 ratio grid here. I'm going to just sort of scale that down a little bit smaller, move it in here, and scale it up like so. And then I have to find a place for this one here. This section there is going to be the underneath there, which needs to be separated out. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me.